What's up, Leafs fam? I'm Norm James. This is the Leafs Convo. I can't tell you how badly I want to watch the Maple Leafs in action. I know it's only been a couple of days, but it's been a couple of days, and we still have to wait another 24 hours for Game 4 of the Leafs Bruins from Air Canada Centre. I'm getting a feeling this thing is going to be tied after tomorrow night, and we may be going 7. Let's find out what Mike Augello thinks. The Leafs Convo starting now. Stay with us.
Hey fellas, just want to say love the podcast and go Leafs go.
And here he is back from Toronto, the hardest working Maple Leafs podcaster, journalist, broadcaster / omniscient one, Mr. Augello. How are you today? What's the latest from practice?
Hey, Norman. Well, the latest is that Leo Komarov does not look like he will get back in the series, at least for we know for sure for Game 4 because Mike Babcock came out after practice today in which Leo did not take to the ice. He came out and said he would be unavailable for Game 4. It looked to me as if he suffered a reoccurrence of the injury that he had, that he suffered in Buffalo in mid-March when he collided with William Nylander. And, the Leafs do have depth at forward, so if they think they can get through the next couple games, maybe he can come back later in the series. But without Kadri and now without Komarov, the Leafs are a bit compromised in terms of experience at forward.
This is the Leafs Convo. Mike Augello, Norman James. Go check out our YouTube page. It is up and running right now. It's basically a landing spot for all of our podcasts. So we have a few up there right now, some pictures, some videos. It's a work in progress. We can certainly use your support. Like and subscribe to the page, the Leafs Convo on YouTube. And Bob's your uncle. Do you have an Uncle Bob, Mike?
I do not.
Poor Uncle Leo in the infirmary. It is a war of attrition, these playoffs. It's unfortunate when you lose players so early into the process, but that's why you have depth. So what is the lineup going to look like in Game 4 tomorrow? One that the Maple Leafs, if they play like they did in Game 3, have a good chance of winning.
Well, they're going to keep the same lineup that they had in Game 3, so that'll be Plekanec playing between Marleau and Marner, and Dominic Moore stepping in for Plekanec on the fourth line between Janssen and Kapanen. Janssen did not have any ill effects from that undercutting by Brad Marchand in Game 3, so he'll be good to go. What's going to be interesting is when Kadri is available in Game 5, what will happen in terms of the line combinations. If the Leafs win Game 4 and Plekanec plays as well as he did between Marleau and Marner in that game, I would be hesitant to shake up that combo. Then maybe Kadri steps in for more on the fourth line, and you have a fourth line that's really not a fourth line. It's a 2 or 3 line with Kapanen and Janssen. Kadri. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Right now, they're gonna. It looks like they're gonna go with the same lineup and the same combos and same pairings that they had in Game 3.
Did someone want to send a telegram to Jack Edwards and let him know that Janssen's still alive?
I may be in the minority here. I love emotional broadcasters. I love play-by-plays like that. I don't take any personal affront in terms of him getting into the into that. I just think it was. I thought Janssen was hurt. He ended up not being as severely hurt as it first looked like, and Jack has always been a very emotional broadcaster. No, like I said, I like that. Rick Jeanneret in Buffalo, Joe Bowen in Toronto, those are emotional broadcasters. I like that, so I don't mind it.
Has Jack Edwards ever heard of the Maple Leafs before? We know how insular Boston and their broadcasters and fans can be, but that, you know what? That's what it is, man. Let him be who he wants to be. Bruins fans eat it up. This is the time when, people become really tribal and, every play means something. So let him do what he needs to do, man. Mike, I thought it was pretty funny, and I don't really take offense to it. Unfortunately, people who like to say a lot of crazy stuff on social media and throw it out there and they're really mean and terse seem to take offense when, the shoe's on the other foot, or a lot of that animosity or that nastiness is sent back their way. Mike, for Game 3, the Maple Leafs were able to drop a bit of a different game plan, put Thomas Plekanec in the number 2 center role. Things did work out. Now, Boston did have the run of the play for a while and did get a couple of bad breaks. Puck luck was not on their side for a change. So the Leafs counteracted what the Bruins were throwing at them and were able to come away with the win. Is it time for the Bruins to make some adjustments now and say, all right, well, if you're going to run Thomas Plekanec out there and he's going to be shadowing Marchand and doing what he has to do, then, here's how we're going to alter the game plan to take another step back forward in Game 4. What are the Bruins going to do for tomorrow?
Well, they might get a mobile defenseman like Matt Grzelcyk back in the lineup. I think he missed Game 3. I'm pretty sure he was clipped, or it was a lower body injury that in Game 2 that prevented him from playing in Game 3. They may insert Ryan Donato back in the lineup. A very talented young forward that they got from Harvard. But I think their main adjustment is going to be try to return to the type of game that they had in the first 2 games of the series, where the Bergeron line scored 20 combined points and were dominant in the game in Game 3. They were fairly neutralized for some of the game. Pasternak, I think, had 8 shots on goal, but they were a collective -7. They were on the ice for all 3 of the Leafs' even strength goals. So, they had possibly their worst playoff game as a line in a couple of years. So I think that all that Bruce Cassidy will be looking for is a little more up tempo and a little more energy from his key players, and Toronto will have to respond to that.
Look, these are the Boston Bruins, the second, third best team overall in the regular season. Are really good, really talented. I've always had tons of respect for them. I poke fun about Boston as a sports city and the kind of people down there and the teams. But, there's a little bit of envy to it all because Boston's been so successful collectively. However, let's not make these guys out to be the 67 Montreal Canadiens or, the Oilers of the mid-'80s. I mean, these guys they're human beings and they're flawed. They still have to prove to themselves that they can be champions. And again, the difference between the Leafs and the Bruins, pound for pound, isn't appreciable. It's minute. So, even though the Bruins were dominant in the first 2 games at home where we expected them to be, and the Leafs were able to punch back a little bit in Game 3, there still has to be a sense that the Maple Leafs have more to give here and should be in good position to at least tie this series and send it 7 games if they're able to continue playing as well at home in the playoffs as they had in the regular season, Mike. I mean, do you feel a little bit more confident now knowing that the Leafs were able to get Game 3, or are you still feeling like this is an uphill battle for them?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be an uphill battle until they get even with the series, and then it's going to be where I thought it was going to be at the very beginning, which was a sort of a pick'em series. I mean, they showed a level of desperation on Monday. They're big players like Marner, like Matthews with the game-winning goal, like Freddie Anderson with the incredible third period that he had. They came to the forefront, but Anderson let in, I thought, 2 pretty bad goals from McQuaid and Chara, but then he stepped up when the team needed him late in the game. So they're going to need that similar effort from him. And I thought the veterans, Marlowe with 2 goals, Van Riemsdyk with a goal, Bozak with an assist, Plekanec playing. Apparently, that was his best game of the year, not the best game as a Leaf. Dave Poulin from TSN said he worked about 30 or 35 Montreal games, and so he's well aware of what Plekanec has done this year. And his comment was that was not just his best game as a Leaf; it was his best game of the season. So if they're, they need him to put up a similar effort and be able to antagonize or bother Krejci or Bergeron enough to take a little bit of pressure off of Matthews. And if he can do that for one more game, then the Leafs, then maybe that trade was beneficial.
Fun fact, Dave Poulin, the former assistant general manager or director of something for the Maple Leafs, in his spare time also runs the Thomas Plekanec fan appreciation page on GeoCities. So, he does triple duty. That Dave Poulin's really working around the clock, and he can tell you just about everything Thomas Plekanec does. And, at the end of the day, Thomas Plekanec may not be a Maple Leaf for much longer. And if he wants to get out of Toronto as quick as possible, then it's going to be happening in the next week or so. But, if he'd like to make his time with the Maple Leafs, at least enjoyable and potentially valuable for him, getting a new contract, maybe adding some extra dollars, maybe giving himself some options when it comes to where he may be able to sign in the offseason, then he wants to continue playing like he did in Game 3. This is the Leafs Conversation. I'm Norm James along with Mike Augello. We're having so much fun doing these podcasts almost on a daily basis, following the trials and tribulations, the goings-on of the Toronto Maple Leafs as they make their way through the 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs. Who knows how long this is going to last? Mike, we'll wrap up on the Maple Leafs in just 2 seconds, but first, you got to throw some credit at the Vegas Golden Knights. Gerard Gallant, a guy who was treated like complete garbage by Dale Talon and the Florida Panthers last year, gets himself a gig with the Vegas Golden Knights, sweeps through the LA Kings in the first round of the playoffs. I've seen some memes and some pictures of him in that yellow station wagon cab that he was having to take because the Panthers left him behind when they parted ways with him last year. He's a good guy. He's a good coach, a longtime NHLer, a Maritimer. A lot of good things for this guy after a real bad period. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm very happy for him, and I know that Talon was still part of the Panthers organization when that embarrassing situation happened in Carolina, but it was really the analytics crowd and Tom Rowe, who was the GM. I mean, Talon was basically his power had been usurped by the ownership, so okay. I can't blame him.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, but the thing is that he's done an amazing job in Vegas. I mean, I picked the Kings in 6 games. I didn't think that this was. I thought that reality would strike when it came to playoff time. That Quick and Kopitar and Doughty would step up. I think LA scored 3 goals in the series. Marc-Andre Fleury had a .977 save percentage. So you can't. That's just incredible. And now you're probably going to see Vegas play San Jose in the second round. So, the Cinderella story continues.
Do the Golden Knights get to the Stanley Cup final? Do they pull kind of a Florida Panthers type thing so early into their existence? This is their inaugural year, so it would be completely historical. Could they make it all the way to the final?
I think they can make the conference final. I think they can beat San Jose because I thought Anaheim was going to beat San Jose, and it looks like Anaheim's going to go out in 4 straight. But I think they can beat the Sharks. But I think if they come up against Nashville or Winnipeg, they'll fall short. All I know is that we've gotten one step closer to the hockey media's dream series, Nashville versus Vegas. Check your livers and your stomach.
Here's the thing, Mike. Name the next Canadian NHL club to win a Stanley Cup. Is it the Winnipeg Jets or the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I think it's one of the two. I don't see, Vancouver is going through a rebuild right now. Ottawa is probably going to trade away their best player in the summer.
Forget the toast, Mike. Forget the toast. Those guys are toast. As of right now, these are the 2 teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Winnipeg's looking pretty good. Toronto, the book is still out. Are the Jets as good, and will they be as good for a protracted period as they are appearing to be right now?
The one leg up that the Jets have on the Leafs right now is that they have, I would say, 2 defensemen who you'd consider top 4 talent in Trouba and in Bufflin. And Myers might be another top 4 guy, although his career has been up and down. The Leafs, I think Morgan Riley is a top 4 defenseman. I don't think Jake Gardiner is, so I think the Leafs right now have
That's
one
sacrilege,
legitimate
Mike.
top 4.
That's it. The podcast is over. You must hail Jake Gardiner at every moment you get. Okay? Let's go. He's the greatest thing since, I don't know, maybe the greatest Maple Leaf of all time. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Yeah, so you think that Winnipeg seems to be pretty well positioned defensively? Would you say that they are, I don't know, a couple of percentage points better than the Maple Leafs if you were creating an analytical package and presenting it?
Slightly ahead. They don't have a superstar forward on the level of Matthews as a center, but Laine is a I don't know if he's a generational talent, but I think he's a 40 to 50 goal scorer. And they have a lot of quality forwards in Wheeler and Ehlers, and they're a very deep and very talented offensive team. And Hellebuyck has come into his own as a goaltender. I don't think he's as good as Freddie Anderson, but he's younger, and if he builds on this year and continues to play that way, then they're in very good shape. I mean, I think the Leafs, no matter what happens in this postseason, they have to go out in the summer and they have to get themselves a top pairing or top 4 defenseman. And if they don't, then I think they'll still be lagging a little bit behind the Jets.
Mike, you are the expert. I'm simply the host. I don't even know what I'm doing here, but I don't know. I'm editing things and I'm uploading things, so I'm lucky enough to be riding along on your coattails. What's the status of someone like Erik Karlsson or Drew Doughty or Oliver Ekman-Larsson or any of these kinds of top defensemen that have been bandied about as possibilities for the Maple Leafs? I don't know, maybe inquiring about?
Well, I mean, this summer is going to be pretty interesting because I think Karlsson's going to be traded, but I also think that there's no way in hell that Pierre Dorian and Eugene Melnyk are going to trade him inside their own division, especially to the team they hate the most, the Leafs. So I don't think, unless it's a 3-way deal or something of that nature, I don't think Karlsson's coming to Toronto. I don't think Doughty – I mean, the Kings may be ready to make some sort of change there, but I don't think trading Drew Doughty is going to be the way that they go. I think the target of those 3 is Oliver Ekman-Larsson because, the Leafs are a team that can give them young, inexpensive talent, and, that's what a financially strapped Arizona team might be interested in. Now, there are other players out there. Trouba, as I mentioned, is a restricted free agent for Winnipeg. John Carlson from Washington is a UFA. So there are opportunities out there, but I think after striking out on Travis Hamonic last summer at the draft, and after striking out at the trade deadline, not getting Ryan McDonough, if the Leafs fall short this year, Lou Lamoriello cannot strike out on a defenseman again.
They know what they have to do, Mike, and I know what I have to do. Got to go parent. Listen, buddy, enjoy your night off. I know you work around the clock covering the Maple Leafs for all the fandom out there. We appreciate what you do, and you and I will reconvene very soon. Game 4 tomorrow. I'm hoping the Leafs can tie this thing, and wouldn't that be awesome? A Game 7, pick-em situation, anybody's hockey game. I can't wait for it, and I'm almost betting it's going to happen. Have a good one, Mike.
Thanks, Norman.
All right, that's going to wrap this podcast. Hashtag the Leafs Convo. Thank you so much for listening. I am Sportsheart on Twitter. Follow me. I'll follow you back. I am that TV guy from London, Ontario, just so you know, that had the larger Twitter following. And then that poor account is just beached and abandoned sitting there. I'm not able to get my hands on it. If you know anybody with Twitter, put them in touch with me, and I want to try to get that thing back so we can continue to grow this podcast each and every time Mike and I take to the mic. This podcast is available just about everywhere quality podcasts are found: iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Overcast, you name it. And we're on YouTube now. Like and subscribe to the page. It's a landing spot for each episode we do. There's some pictures there. There's some video there. Lights, sounds, all this kind of great stuff. We appreciate everything you do for us, and that makes us want to keep going on and on and on. And let's hope that we are an example of what the Maple Leafs can be with this playoffs. Game 4 tomorrow night. Enjoy this evening, and we will reconvene very soon. For Mike Augello, I'm Norm James. Thanks for listening. Later.